John Elway with a pass completion to Terrell Davis for 11 yards. Now they say no good, out of bounds. So the pass was not complete. And welcome to those of you who've been watching the Colts and the Bills. And that Colts overtime 13-10 victory means that Seattle and Denver here is very meaningful for the Broncos. A victory gives them home field advantage throughout the playoffs. Tom Hammond, Bob Trumpy here in Denver, where the Broncos lead 7-0 after taking the opening kickoff and marching down the field for 7.
They've not announced that final score yet here in Mile High Stadium. When they do, there's going to be a huge cheer.
Here's Terrell Davis, the NFL's leading rusher, looking for a block at the point of attack. Can't get it. The play strung out by McCaffrey and Harris, who make the tackle on Terrell Davis.
Davis told us yesterday that in '95, went over 1,000 yards. He got tired, got really worn out. And it was the first time he'd ever gained 1,000 yards in any level of football. So this year I did a lot of extra training in the offseason, stayed in Denver, trained in altitude. He said, I'm fresh. I'm not tired at all. I'm ready to go every day, all day long.
And coming out of the game here, every level that is except Pop Warner, where he was Boss Hog, they called him back in San Diego, had to change the number of his jersey every game so the other teams couldn't concentrate on him. Seattle apparently didn't have the proper defensive alignment on the field, so the Seahawks have to burn a timeout. Timeout here in Denver. First quarter, Broncos up 7.
The NFL on NBC is brought to you by Coca-Cola Classic. Always the real thing, always Coca-Cola. By Pontiac and your local Pontiac dealer. We are driving excitement. By Visa, the preferred card of the NFL. It's everywhere you want to be. And by Brewery Fresh Budweiser, who reminds you, fresh beer tastes better.
You may have thought that was a shot from the blimp, but it's holiday season. That's a gingerbread Mile High Stadium. Built by Vinnie Marie Tomlin, the pastry specialist at the Westin Hotel here in Denver, and reminding us it looks just like Mile High Stadium.
Sold out.
Happy holiday season to all of you. Third down for the Broncos as we return to action. The best third down conversion team in the NFL. John Elway in the shotgun facing 7 Seattle defensive backs. Elway's pass overshoots Shannon Sharpe and incomplete. And for the first time, Denver will have to punt.
Denver made a personnel change. They put Terrell Davis back in the lineup. Seattle stayed with the 7 defensive backs, and on the crossing pattern just a little too hot for Shannon Sharpe, the tight end.
So Tom Ruin will punt for the first time today, averaging 42.6 on the season, as you see. And Ronnie Harris awaits the punt, standing at about his 26-yard line. Ruin spins it toward Harris, who comes up and makes a fair catch at the 34-yard line. There is a penalty flag down.
Now, while we wait for the call, Harris back there returning the punt, not Joey Galloway.
Right. Galloway has a touchdown on the punt return this year. It was a 40-yard boot, and the flag illegal downfield against Denver. Let's see what Seattle Dennis Erickson decides to do. Ron Blum is today's referee.
51 of the kicking team illegally downfield. Penalties declined. Timeout.
Mobley was illegally downfield, so Seattle declines. They'll take over with pretty good field position, but trailing Denver 7-0.
This is the NFL on NBC.
Rick Meyer and the Seahawks trailing 7-0 with their second possession of this first quarter. In the earlier meeting between these two in Seattle, the Broncos won 30-20 over Seattle. Chris Warren, the lone setback. And the handoff to Warren. Stopping, starting, nice run across the 40-yard line. Got about 5 yards before he's tackled by Dan Williams.
You know, this kid is extraordinary. And what he does is that little stutter move he makes after he gets the ball really affects the defensive line. You're going to see it starts left. Now watch this little stutter right there. And it just freezes the entire defense, and then he has the quickness and the speed to break up through the line. Excellent. One of the best running backs in the league.
As you see the other scores, Steve McNair with a touchdown pass for the Oilers. Myers aerial on target. Ronnie Williams, tight end, scrambles ahead through Lionel Washington for a first down. So Seattle has its initial first down of the game.
Interesting, when we talked to Joey Galloway last night about Rick Mirer, he said, after he was benched and came back, thought that Rick Mirer was a lot more relaxed, more in control, has always thrown the ball very well, kind of roots for Rick Mirer. But this is an audition for Rick Mirer for the rest of the season, or 29 other clubs. He's not going to be in Seattle in 1997.
Says he hasn't lost his confidence, but thinks a change of scenery will do him some good. In the face of the blitz, he heaves it downfield, and it's caught. Galloway out of bounds at about the 10-yard line. He beat Hilliard, Randy Hilliard, as Galloway had a step, and Mirer put it right on the money.
And man, I'm telling you, Galloway just ran right past Hilliard. You draft kids for a lot of reasons, and Galloway for his speed. The little hesitation, Hilliard buys it. Now watch the acceleration. He just keeps pulling away. That is a beautiful throw by Rick Mirer. On the money, laces up, outside foot. Big catch.
Galloway from Mirer, 43 yards, and first down Seattle at the Denver 10. Mirer rolling, flag down, and the play stopped.
Well, if this is delay of game,
Mirer not
delay of game,
It
offense, 5 yards, repeat first down.
yeah, and you know what Erickson's complaining of, that after that long completion, the offense was slow getting down to the line of scrimmage, and as soon as the officials spot the ball, they start that clock. So, I mean, sometimes the officials can help a team. That time they hurt them. They gave no real time break there at all.
I wonder, too, if it's not a symptom of something Rick Mirer was talking about, in that sometimes there's too much input into the offense, and maybe a little indecision on the play coming in. We don't know, but something to watch. Blades is in motion as Mirer hands to Chris Warren, looking for a block. Didn't get much of one, only a couple of yards. Hasselback was the first to arrive on the scene to stop Chris Warren. It'll be second down.
Warren is a guy you got to love, but inside the red zone, Seattle's had great problems. He's big, smooth, he's like Dickerson, but the third worst in the AFC inside the 20. Just 44% of the time do they score, and just 15 touchdowns.
And of course they began this time inside the 20 with a penalty on first down. Second and goal, the ball at about the 14. Play action fake. Mirer with time. Now scrambles away from trouble. Mirer makes it inside the 10-yard line before he's chased out of bounds by Michael Dean Perry.
And when he first came out of Notre Dame as a rookie, this is what Rick Mirer did the best. I think his running ability is the thing that scares Greg Robinson, the defensive coordinator of Denver, the most. I mean, they've got a running quarterback named John Elway. He looks at the first guy, the second guy, still got great legs. Was kind of talked out of running the ball a little bit over the last year or so. And maybe going back to it.
It was Michael Dean Perry that flushed him out of the pocket and made a diving attempt at his heels. Couldn't get there, and then Mirer went on to pick up some yardage. Third and goal. Lofts it wide open. Catch made for the touchdown. Mike Pritchard with a diving reception for the score as Steve Atwater fell down. And Mike Pritchard was all alone in the end zone.
The former Bronco who played at Colorado.
That hurts.
Yeah, it does. Mirer waits very patiently on this. Actually, I think it's Lionel Washington, 48, who loses his footing. But that's kind of in the shade here in Mile High Stadium. And Pritchard took advantage of it.
Pass was a little off target from Mirer, but Pritchard was able to catch up to it, the former Bronco and Buffalo. And the extra point is good by Todd Peterson. And suddenly, here it is, Pritchard with a great catch. And the game tied. 7-7 game after only the third touchdown pass of the season for Rick Mirer. He engineered a nice 6-play, 66-yard drive. Big strike, of course, was to Galloway to set up the Pritchard touchdown catch, first of the season for Pritchard for a touchdown. Vaughn Hebron returned the opening kickoff 60 yards, and he's got another good one going here. Hebron again breaking free down to the 45-yard line. Jones caught him and got him down, but Hebron again lights a fire under this Denver team.
these important games, games of pressure, special teams play such a part. You know, these are not the starting players. These are the guys who are the backups. And if a head coach and the special teams coach can get the special teams attention, you know you've got the attention of the rest of the team.
41-yard kickoff return again puts the Broncos in great field position. First down at their own 44. Davis in motion as Elway drops back, looks one way, the other, finds Craver, and Aaron Craver racing down inside the 30 of Seattle, finally caught by Darrell Williams.
Tom, you remember when we talked to John Elway about this West Coast offense, what the hardest part was to learn? Here's the fullback right here. Elway said all the years he was here in Denver, his outlet was either 20 yards down the field or run. Here, the dump off. It's the most difficult thing he's had to adjust to in what Mike Shanahan wants for offense. Get it in somebody else's hand, let him break a tackle.
Aaron Craver is the 5th leading receiver on this team, 29 catches coming in. Elway rifles it complete again, this time to Shannon Sharpe to the 32-yard line where he's hit by Dean Wells.
And the amazing thing about Shannon Sharpe, you don't see teams hold him up. Now watch this. He's going to go right by the defensive end. No contact whatsoever. You're talking about a guy who was called a tight end, but a 227 is a big wide receiver. And how in the world can they allow Shannon Sharpe free off the line of scrimmage? It's beyond me.
Well, traditionally, Seattle's done a pretty good job on Sharpe, holding him much lower than his normal production. But he already has a touchdown catch today. Terrell Davis, nowhere to go, hit in the backfield and dropped at the line of scrimmage by Michael Sinclair. And Shannon Sharpe shaken up, trying to make a block on the play.
Well, when we talked to him yesterday, he said he's had 5 surgeries on his ankle. He's going in motion. See what he does. What happens? I can't believe he gets hurt on this. He's hitting Winston Moss. Oh, and a defensive lineman rolls on his leg or knee. Said he likes the way this season's gone because he's been healthy enough to practice every day. So he goes out there and somebody rolls on his leg.
5 wide receiver formation here on 3rd down. Elway, pass caught. Flag is down as Mike Sherrod makes the catch and is thrown back by Dexter Siegler. Sherrod with a catch in traffic. Penalty flag flying in from the complete other side of the field of the play, from the play.
An amazing formation there. Here's the call. Base mass defense. Tom, Denver had 4 wide receivers and Shannon Sharpe.
Number 30, illegal use of the hands, grasping the face mask, not a personal foul. 5-yard penalty declined. First down.
Corey Harris.
Tom, look at this. Wide receiver, wide receiver, wide receiver. 5 wide receivers. You got the defense spread all over the field. Just another aspect of this West Coast offense. I mean, pick a spot. You're going to have single coverage everywhere.
And the lineman doing a good job of protecting Elway, so they don't need to bring a back in to help protect him. Sharpe is in motion. A fake and a roll. Elway looking for the end zone and throws it away. Anthony Miller perhaps closest to it as Elway deciding to throw that one away and try again.
And I see that's another thing you didn't used to see with John Elway. He'd try to make a play out of that. Run, try to force one in. But a good job here by Seattle. Excellent coverage down the field. Elway has time looking all over the place. And look, no grass stain on him yet. You know, he's healthier than he's been at this late stage in the '96 season than in any previous season.
He told us that he thought he was a better quarterback now than he was in his heyday here in the twilight of his career, although certainly not done yet. On the sweep, Terrell Davis has a block and is down to the 1-yard line. Gary Zimmerman leading the interference. Finally, Harris and Wooden get him down short of the goal line.
Tom, we also got a nice crackback block that's going to come in here, and then here's the tackle who circles out. Gary Zimmerman is the personal. And there's the crackback. Is that McCaffrey, I believe, makes the block? And Zimmerman out there in front. You mentioned he's going to have surgery next week. Yeah, on his shoulder.
But will not miss a game.
Yeah, isn't that something? 3 times in his career, Gary Zimmerman has had hand surgery on Monday, played on Sunday.
Been to the Pro Bowl 6 times. The 11-year veteran from Oregon. Davis. Nobody in the backfield as Elway tries to sneak it across. And he does. Touchdown. Elway wedging in behind Mark Schlereth and Gary Zimmerman and breaking the plane of the goal line for Elway, his 4th rushing touchdown of the season.
We're not talking about a quarterback-sized quarterback either. John is one of the big weightlifters in the NFL at quarterback, and over 230, he's still got a lot of leg strength.
Jason Elam for the extra point. Puts it up and through. So with 1:51 left in the opening quarter, Denver regains the lead on the Elway sneak. It's 14-7 Broncos. John Elway sneaking across to put Denver back in command. 14-7. Closing couple of minutes of the first quarter. It was a 7-play, 56-yard drive that consumed about 3.5 minutes.
Tom, there's something wrong with John Elway. I don't know what it is.
And now he's trotting off the field as Elam kicks off. Ronnie Harris from the 5. Harris ridden down at the 25-yard line. 20-yard return for Harris, and the Seahawks will take over. Well, Steve Air McNair got the start for Houston today. Let's check on his progress with Greg Gumbel in New York.
Well, Tom, at the Meadowlands, Jets fans have a question. Well, they've got a lot of questions, but on this particular play, they're wondering, where's the defense? Check out how wide open Chris Sanders is. He will complete an 83-yard touchdown, and with the extra point in the rain at the Meadowlands, the Oilers lead the Jets 14-0, Tom.
All right, Greg, thank you. Steve McNair with 2 touchdown passes. That one you just saw, the longest of the season for the Oilers, as Lamar Smith gets a carry. Now, here is Musgrave, John Elway's backup, Bill Musgrave, warming up on the sideline. Elway has left the field, and we'll give you a report when we get one. In his 6th season, Musgrave has only attempted 23 passes, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Seattle with the ball, 2nd down and 9. Again, it's Lamar Smith. And again, he finds the going tough, a yard or maybe a yard and a half. Michael Dean Perry and Mike Lodish stacking things up. Michael Dean saying, you think they'd give an old man a break, and I'm still getting the double teams in his 9th season from Clemson, a 5-time Pro Bowler. And
in the case of Smith, they're going to try to double team Denver with Smith and Warren. This kid came into the game today averaging 4.9 a carry. He's no slouch.
He is still there in the backfield. Jumping gathers in the game for Denver. Rick Myers, pass dropped by Crumpler. Kind of heard the footsteps coming from Lionel Washington and gave it up.
You might be absolutely right. Denver's zone coverage. Meyer goes to the outlet. Took a little while to get the ball out there. And Washington knocks it loose.
It'll be 4th down, and Rick Tootin is on to punt. First one was a good one. And Rod Smith awaits the punt back at his own 18-yard line. And we assume Musgrave will be at quarterback for the Broncos because Elway has not come back. Final 30 seconds of the first quarter. Smith slips, gets back up. The going a little rough right there in the center of the field, but Smith makes a nice return out of it. Barber chases him out of bounds with Bellamy. 55-yard punt that time by Rick Tootin.
And Tom, everybody in Mile High Stadium.
There's a flag down, Bob. Excuse me.
Illegal man downfield. Everybody in Mile High Stadium is looking at the locker room door where John Elway ran in with the trainer. There's the door, Steve Antonopoulos. And when he came off the field after the last offensive drive, went straight to the trainer and kind of moved his hand like something snapped or popped. So maybe it's just a tape job, but I mean, cameraman.
93, the kicking team illegally downfield. Penalties decline. 1st down.
Cameramen are heading towards the Broncos locker room. Every head is looking at the locker room door. They're not paying attention to Musgrave going on the field. Everyone in Mile High knows the importance of half of that number, 7.
Bill Musgrave, in his 6th season from Oregon, was a 4th-round draft choice of the Cowboys in '91, came over to the Broncos as an unrestricted free agent from San Francisco last year. As you saw, 23 pass attempts in his career. This season, he has attempted 2 of 6, or hit on 2 of 6. No touchdowns and 1 interception. Spent 4 years with the 49ers and learned this West Coast offense there.
And that's the key. I mean, Kubiak was there, Shanahan was there, Musgrave there, and they brought in a whole bunch of people who have thoroughly learned that West Coast offense playbook. And even Mike Shanahan and Gary Kubiak admitted that last year they put the offense in and they were just puppies at it. This year they've learned the adjustments, so it functions a lot better.
Learned the nuances of it, haven't they? Musgrave had quite a career at Oregon, holds 15 Oregon passing records, and coming on here to replace Elway. And still no word from the Bronco locker room on the status of John Elway. Terrell Davis with a short gain as we approach the end of the first quarter.
And we might see a major dose of run here. You know, with John Elway being attended to in the locker room, the league's leading rusher. Yeah, let's run a while here.
So Musgrave is at quarterback for the Broncos as quarter number 1 comes to an end with Denver leading Seattle 14-7. We start the second quarter in Denver with all eyes on the Broncos locker room door where John Elway disappeared after showing the trainer perhaps something with his hand. See how he's holding his hand, flexing, and showing maybe something wrong with it that occurred on that quarterback sneak for the touchdown.
Yeah, couldn't really tell, but like he's telling Steve Antonopoulos, the trainer, something snapped or something. But the trainer is the only one who went in that locker room door with John Elway. I didn't see a doctor.
So we don't know what the injury is to John Elway, and as soon as we find out, we will pass it along to you. Meanwhile, Bill Musgrave is at quarterback for the Broncos and is awaiting the okay to proceed because they're having trouble with the clock here at Mile High Stadium. Gives us a chance to review the other scores with you. There's the clock. They had trouble with it just in the last play of the first quarter, and now still haven't gotten it straightened out. Philadelphia, they needed that win, and they get in a big way over the Giants. Minnesota cools off Arizona a bit. Carolina, they're for real.
Well,
They're heading for the playoffs, looks like to me. Jacksonville beats Cincinnati. And here in Denver, 14-7 Broncos as they take over with a second down. Second play for Musgrave at quarterback, and it's his first pass. And it's a good one, complete to Terrell Davis. Chased out of bounds just short of the 40-yard line by Winston Moss. He'll be about 2 yards short of the first down. Second reception for Davis.
And you know, Davis is underrated as a blocker and a receiver. He gets so much attention because of his running skills, but at Georgia, he was in the backfield with Eric Zaire, and basically all Georgia did was throw it. This kid is he's the complete package. He's a nice kid too.
And the reluctant superstar, isn't that what you called him?
Yeah,
because
very shy.
He really doesn't want attention. Once plays nose guard on his high school team just because they wanted to make an impact without getting recognition. Musgrave short drop, quick strike. McCaffrey has it, first down Denver. Bumped out of bounds by Corey Harris. Musgrave knew right where to go with it.
Tom, another aspect of this 49er West Coast, whatever offense you want to call it is, you can plug it. Here comes Elway.
And Elway is back.
I'm guessing right now that was some sort of a retape job. He's had problems with his knees. I don't see anything on his left wrist or hand. He may have retaped his knee. He's worn a brace with a tape job for a number of years.
Well, they'll tell us from the sideline as soon as we have a chance. Meanwhile, Terrell Davis pounds ahead for 2 or 3 yards. Michael McCrary from his defensive end spot makes the stop.
There's the man. I mean, he is the man. For active quarterbacks, the one with the most wins. He's ahead of Marino. He's ahead of Kelly. He's done more with less in the NFL than any quarterback that I've ever seen play.
And warming up again, coming into the game, needing only 113 for 3,000, which would be his 11th 3,000-yard passing season to tie Marino and to make it 4 in a row over 3,000 yards. Musgrave, meanwhile, isn't too shabby. It wasn't pretty, but it got to McCaffrey and is a gain of about 10 yards.
Well, Michael McCaffrey was right in the chest of Musgrave. That was one of those helicopter passes. You know, rotor. Let's see who missed the block. You're going to see from the left what happens here. That's Terrell Davis who misses the block, and putting a running back on a defensive end, not smart. You don't want to do that very often. Your quarterback's going to be back in that locker room again.
So the word from the Broncos sideline is that the Elway injury was a hamstring. So not the hand or the wrist as we saw him demonstrate to the trainer, maybe just using the hand signal to tell him what was wrong. It apparently was the hamstring. Davis with a carry and McCrary with another tackle.
Yeah, Tom, correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't Elway have a severely pulled hamstring earlier in the season? Monday night game may have been late in the game, maybe against the Raiders.
I think you're right.
And maybe it was. Yeah, see, he's favoring him. Yeah.
Well, that's the bad news for Bronco fans. The good news is Musgrave has them on the move again, facing a 2nd and 8. And to Miller, complete to the 30-yard line. It'll be a first down. Anthony Miller with his first catch of the day in front of Carlton Gray, and Musgrave finding Miller as the Broncos continue to spread the ball around. There are the stats on Miller, the 2nd leading receiver behind Sharpe for the Broncos.
High percentage passes, nothing chancy here. Quick drops by the quarterback Musgrave. They're going to check here for the first down. This is now a very tough spot for this football team, the Denver Broncos.
Did indeed get the first down.
The point I'm going to make is players of the competitive nature of John Elway are bad patients. And when you first pull a hamstring, it doesn't feel that bad. Elway's got to assess himself here, leading 14-7, and really be honest with whether or not he can come back in the game. He's the only one that knows it, how bad it's pulled.
And the word from the sideline is his return is possible. Terrell Davis stuffed in the backfield by big Cortez Kennedy,
who continues to play like 3 guys out there.
Big enough for 3.
Oh, man. Cortez has been double teamed since they handed him the hat in New York the day he was drafted by the Seahawks. I mean, you can count on one hand the number of teams who have tried to block this guy with one guy.
He's got that prerequisite that you have, too, for defensive linemen.
I love it.
What is it?
Big butt. Bigger the better. And it appears to me that Cortez works on it. I mean,
Thanksgiving didn't help. Snap it directly to Terrell Davis, and he plows his way to the 30. Didn't appear to fool the Seahawks. Got only a couple of yards as Denver has played this series without Shannon Sharpe, who has twisted his left ankle. And Sharpe has not been in there this time. So Elway and Sharpe are not on the field. Sharpe is back in that locker room now, which is becoming the focal point of everything here at Mile High Stadium.
I hope we didn't jinx him, because we said earlier in the day on the pregame show that this team has been remarkably healthy.
Well, as Elway watches, his replacement, Bill Musgrave, lines up in the shotgun. There's that 5-receiver set again. And the play blown dead. Could be delay a game here as the play clock.
Delay a game. Offense. 5 yards. Repeat 3rd down.
Now, one of the things you have to do is make sure in this offense you get the right personnel on the field. That takes time. Then 2, getting the play in, that takes time. And thirdly, the starting quarterback gets a lot more snaps with the offense than the backup. And therefore the delay of game.
Terrell Davis returns to the lineup for Denver as they go away from that 5 wide receiver formation now on 3rd down and 14. McCaffrey in motion. Musgrave tosses to Davis.
Look at this.
Davis waits for a block. And then the pursuit catches up to him at about the 26-yard line. It'll be short of the first down. Dexter Siegler coming up finally to catch up to Terrell Davis. Boy, for a while there they had the Seahawks fooled, had a blocker in front, but the pursuit of Seattle caught up in pretty good order.
And you're going to see again the wide receiver on the crackback. Zimmerman 65 out on the pull, and there's nobody there. But you can see Blackman along with Siegler there to assist on the tackle. Excellent job, Seattle defense.
So Elam will attempt a field goal. And he has it through. Jason Elam kicks a field goal. And the Denver Broncos, without John Elway, extend their lead.
The NFL on NBC is brought to you by the full line of new 1997 cars from Mitsubishi, built for living. By Castrol GTX, the most protection against volatility burn-off. And by Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Call 1-800-RENT-A-CAR. Pick Enterprise. We'll pick you up.
Tom Hammond, Bob Trumpy back in Denver, where just while we were away, John Elway had that hamstring right in front of the hot air heater, blowing some hot air on it, trying to keep it loose. We notice that he has the jacket on now, and with a 17-7 lead, we don't know if he'll return or not. Jason Elam, who just kicked a 44-yard field goal with the kickoff, taken by Ronnie Harris. Harris trying to get to the outside. Blasted out of bounds at about the 18-yard line by James. And the Denver Broncos, with the status of John Elway in doubt, up 10 on Seattle.
The NFL on NBC is brought to you by Domino's Pizza. Call now to enjoy a hot and delicious Domino's Pizza by halftime. For hot and wow, call Domino's now.
From the Mile High City, Tom Hammond, Bob Trumpy, and John Elway's status in doubt with a jacket on after re-aggravating a hamstring injury, but his Broncos up 17-7. Seattle takes over with 9:04 left in the second quarter. Rick Meyer, a play-action fake, dodges the rush. There's a penalty marker down as he's sacked back at the 15-yard line. Mike Lodish and Jeff Robinson combining to stop Rick Meyer after Michael Dean Perry had taken on the blockers and opened the lane. That's what Michael Dean has done throughout his career.
Tom, it looked like
holding 66 offense. Penalties declined. Second down.
Pete Kendall guilty of the hold on Michael Dean Perry.
Yeah. Michael Dean went right around him.
Right.
And the rookie makes the right choice. He just grabs a hold of Michael Dean and just throws him to the ground. There's the hold right up there. There he just tackles him. Probably a good choice.
That's the slim down Michael Dean Perry, but he said, hey, Thanksgiving doesn't count. You have to gorge yourself occasionally. Lamar Smith. Tackled by Dan Williams. Short of the 20-yard line. Well, with Denver up by 10, the speculation continues to swirl around John Elway. And if you were Mike Shanahan, Trump, would you send him back on the field?
Well, that's a tough spot because, again, competitive players are bad patients. He probably shouldn't put him back in, and 17-7 makes the choice a little easier.
Third down play. Rick Meyer. Pass incomplete, intended for Pritchard. And it'll be a punting time for Seattle.
Tom, let me make an additional comment on John Elway and his pulled hamstring. He's pulled it early in this game. And when you pull a hamstring early, I mean, as you stand on the sideline, it's going to get a lot worse. Standing there on the sideline is not going to help his hamstring. It's only going to get more painful and stiffer and stiffer and stiffer. So I would doubt if we see him again.
Still has the jacket on, we note, as Rick Tootin lines up in punt formation. Nearly got to it, but it takes a good Seattle bounce. Rod Smith picks it up and comes back the other way. Ducks out of bounds as Keith Burns nearly blocked the punt. It was not a good punt, and look here, John Elway off with a jacket. He'll be on the field when we return.
Next Sunday on NBC, a possible Super Bowl preview. The Broncos. John Elway and company have stampeded to the NFL lead. The Packers. Brett Favre has Green Bay feeling super. NFL powers clash at storied Lambeau Field. Or the Bills battle the Seahawks or regional action. The NFL on NBC next Sunday.
Welcome back to Denver as we go back to the second possession by the Broncos. First play of that possession. John Elway looking downfield and then forced to roll out of the pocket. Now keep your eye on Elway as he lets the ball go. Watch him grab his left hamstring right here at the end of the play. There it is right there. That could be where he re-aggravated the injury. Nevertheless, he's back on the field now. And he hits his first pass back. Chamberlain ducking away from the first wave of tacklers and takes it for a gain of about 10 yards before he's tackled by Terry Wooden and Corey Harris.
Let's just watch John Elway drop back. He is a competitor. He wants to be a part of all successes. He wants to make the big plays. Again, it's the left hamstring. It's high. There's no real pressure on it there. Doesn't really have a reaction. But again, this is a tough spot for Mike Shanahan. Now, he is John Elway friendly. Knows him and knows him well. He's let John make this decision. So John's patient player. Patient like in hospitals.
Terrell Davis, like a surgeon, knifing ahead for about 3 yards before he's tackled by the veteran Joe Nash, who is a story in himself, speaking of medical miracles.
Yeah, and he's been around forever, too. They can't get rid of Joe Nash. They got rid of him. They bring him back. He's got a belly to be proud of.
Signed by the Seattle Seahawks on the 30th of October, bringing him back as the Seattle record 210 games played, 15th season.
And, you know, he can still play. I mean, Joe Nash has still got some strength and some mobility.
They turned his locker into a shrine up in Seattle. Had to give it back to him. Anthony Miller can't catch up to the Elway pass. He had a step on Carlton Gray.
Again, now let's just continue to watch this injury. Our pregame was about players coming back from concussions. Certainly not the severity of full hamstring. Sets up well. And it's his left leg. He doesn't run the just overthrown. I don't think that's related to the hamstring pull.
And Elway now facing a 3rd and 7. Lines up in the shotgun. 5 wide receivers on. Steps up, delivers, complete. Down to the 25-yard line. Chamberlain with another catch, the big tight end, and Robert Blackman stops him. Byron Chamberlain with his 2nd reception of the game, matching his season's total coming in.
And you know, good protection up front by the offensive line. This is 5-on-5. And then Cortez Kennedy, that kind of goes easy on him a little bit, but does put him on the ground. But it looked like John was going to run, and wait a minute, hamstring, I'm waiting for the throw.
I think you'll have trouble convincing John that he went easy on him.
From up here, it looked easy.
Pitch to Davis. Terrell Davis to the 10-yard line. Wrestled out of bounds there by Darrell Williams. Another look at why this man leads the NFL in rushing. Mike Shanahan saying they saw him make a cut in the blue-gray game as his coaching staff researched running backs. They saw something no one else saw, the potential of this man.
And, you know, he was Denver's 2nd pick in the 6th round last year. And you can see the 1,277 yards, leads the NFL. But this guy just started out on the special teams. He was beating people up. They had to give him a shot in the lineup.
Draw play. Davis squirms his way for a couple of yards.
You know, we said he's...
And Shannon Sharpe has returned after that twisted ankle.
Now, I was going to mention the shyness of Davis. That's no problem with Shannon Sharpe about shyness. He's at the opposite end of the spectrum. But or Terrell Davis, he spent Thanksgiving by himself.
Cooked his own dinner. Oh, no, had a friend bring a plate over.
Can you imagine that? By himself. Shannon should have invited him over.
Or John Elway, he had 23 already.
Yeah, what's 24?
Elway's pass nearly intercepted. Caromed off Mike Sherrard, and then Carlton Gray had a chance, number 26, to pick it off.
Here's another one of those instances. Remember when I asked John Elway yesterday, how about your arm strength? He said, well, I can't throw it as far, but I can still throw it as hard. And boy, is that an example.
Carom right off Sherrard, and Gray nearly had it.
Sherrard will have a bruise on his bicep where the point of that football hit him.
David Diaz-Infante has replaced Mark Schlereth at the left guard spot for Denver. Mike Shanahan telling us the injured Schlereth would play about half the game. And Shannon Sharpe over on the sideline, and his return is possible as the game progresses. Broncos take a timeout here. Clock shows 4:27 left till halftime. Ginger John Elway up 10. And speaking of prehistoric beings, the offensive line of the Broncos have done a pretty good job today controlling the line of scrimmage, helping them to that 17-7 lead, and looking for more on 3rd down and 8. 5 wide receiver formation for Elway. Pumps once and is sacked.
A hamstring.
His mobility hampered, and big Cortez Kennedy, along with Michael McCrary, able to collapse the pocket on Elway.
The empty backfield and the 5 receivers, and the last option is to run, but you're going to see Cortez Kennedy on Diaz-Infante. Actually, that's good pass protection, but you know, if John were healthy, he'd be running.
So instead, Elam will attempt a 30-yard field goal. And Jason Elam is 2 for 2 on the afternoon. There is a penalty marker down, flag down.
The kicker was hit. Elam was hammered.
There he is, number 1, down on one knee, and now says nope. He got it through anyway.
Is this the 5-yard kind or the 15-yard kind? They're going to take the points off the board, go back on offense here, Tom.
Looks like it, as Elway comes back out on the field and said, yep.
Personal foul, roughing the kicker, number 30. Half the distance to the goal, 1st down.
Corey Harris with a crucial roughing call.
Well, he kind of slipped. It's bad sod between the hash marks, but and he's complaining to the officiating crew, wait a minute, I was blocked and I slipped, but there was contact with the kicker, not allowed. 1st and goal, Denver.
From the 6, and Shannon Sharpe is back on the field. Elway for the end zone. Miller can't get there. It'll be 2nd and goal.
Hard to tell whether he's suffering any discomfort there. It seems to be all right.
He has Terrell Davis as his lone setback. Sends 2 wide receivers to the left. Shannon Sharpe, the tight end on that side. Pitch to Davis. Davis bangs to the 5, but no more. Got only a yard, maybe a yard and a half, with Dean Wells and Corey Harris collapsing him. Wells, in his 4th season from Kentucky, has been quite a story. The leading tackler for the Seahawks this season. Has 11 starts this season, was just a special teams player in his first 3 years, and now has come on to be the leading tackler for the Seahawks, as Terry Wooden, who was the leading tackler last year, has missed 7 games with a hamstring injury.
He's got to be one of the biggest middle linebackers in the league, 6'3", close to 250. And middle linebackers are getting smaller, so they're more mobile.
3rd and goal from the 5. Elway, short drop. Throws it away again. And a flag down as Miller was interfered with by Corey Harris.
Tom, that's the case. The ball was in the air.
A hold will be the call.
The ball was in the air, and there's no question that he had contact on Anthony Miller.
30 defense, half the distance to the goal, 1st down.
So the automatic 1st down on the defensive hold is Corey Harris.
Inside move, outside move. There you see the right hand across the arm. And Corey Harris has supplied the Denver Broncos with 2 first and goal situations here because of penalties.
Yeah, Corey Harris is going to get a game ball from the Broncos here. He roughed the kicker, giving them a first down, and now a hold on a 3rd down play. Craver stopped short of the goal line. It'll be 2nd and goal. Sam Adams gets credit for the tackle, and the Seahawks determined to give Denver a touchdown here.
Yeah, no matter what the rest of them are doing, Corey Harris is going to try to make sure that the Orange get in the end zone.
The Elway watch continues. And as we said, no obvious discomfort. His way and is stopped in his tracks short of the goal line, about the 1-yard line. As we tick down toward the 2-minute warning, a little scuffle breaks out.
This is pretty admirable for the Seahawks. They're facing the #1 rushing team in the NFL, and we wondered if they'd fold their 10th now at 5-7, and showing some character here. The Seahawks are.
Joe Nash down at the bottom of that stack, getting up last. They wind the clock, and we'll come down to the 2-minute warning without another play being run. 2 minutes to go till halftime. Denver leading Seattle and knocking on the door, looking for more. 2 minutes till halftime in Denver. John Elway, for the 3rd time, visits the Denver sideline. 13th play of the drive coming up. Thanks to Corey Harris, the Broncos have gotten 6 extra snaps down here.
Yeah, and I'm sure everybody at Mile High Stadium, 7th snap inside the 10-yard line. This is well done by the Seattle defense, even in spite of Corey Harris.
3rd and goal from the 1. Davis dives and is stopped well short. Great defensive stand by Seattle Seahawks. Philip Daniels meeting Davis that time, and they'll have to settle for the field goal.
And again, the submarine job by the defensive line of the Seattle Seahawks. Watch them dive to the ground. Make sure that the offensive linemen have no leverage. Cortez Kennedy, 96, comes up for air, got the periscope up, and the defensive coordinator McMacken must be very proud.
Elam with a 19-yard field goal. Chip shot goes right through. Elam has connected to extend the Denver lead just before halftime. Seattle calling that last timeout with 1:47 left in the 2nd quarter. And don't forget, at halftime, we'll send you to New York. The Domino's Pizza NFL on NBC halftime report. Greg Gumbel and company to get you caught up on all the action this 14th week of the NFL season. Coming up at halftime.
Tom, this is a critical point now here for Mike Shanahan. He's got to make a choice. Leading 20-7 with his quarterback gimping around on a hamstring. They win today, they win the division, they lead 20-7. They will have home field advantage with the loss of Pittsburgh and Buffalo. I don't know that there's anything at stake for the second half of this game. He needs a John Elway healthy.
Elway, who aggravated the hamstring injury earlier, returned to action, leading the Broncos on that field goal drive. Although they couldn't punch it in with what turned out to be, what, 8 snaps inside the 10?
Yeah, 8 snaps inside the 10. 6 courtesy of Corey Harris.
Elam will kick off for Denver. And Ronnie Harris takes it a yard deep. Harris behind the wedge, dropped at the 20-yard line by Cadrez. Glenn Cadrez on special teams. The turn covered 22 yards. Well, tonight on Dateline, it was one of the strangest and most terrifying hijackings ever. It ended with a devastating crash. Now hear what really happened from an American who was inside the plane. An unforgettable Dateline survivor story later tonight here on NBC. 1:40 till halftime. Seattle down 20-7. First down play. Meyer slipped a little bit, regained his footing, and caught Carlester Crumpler. Taken out of bounds at about the 32-yard line. A Seattle first down.
Broncos with 5 defensive backs. Again, 1:35 to go in the first half. That prevent attitude, you know, keep them in front of you.
See the other scores going by. The Baltimore and Indianapolis victories today, meaning that Denver can clinch home field, and they're leading here 20-7 just before halftime. Crumpler made the catch despite the fact that Tyrone Braxton was all over him. Had him wrapped up, he caught it anyway. Third catch of the day.
And one of those fire zones. There's zone blitzes where they had a guy drop out from the defensive line. And Braxton, that safety, he makes a bunch of plays for this Denver defense.
Galloway with a reception.
Fumble.
Lost the football. Picked off by Torrey James. Took it away from Galloway, and James has it down close to the 30-yard line where Ricky Prohl knocks him out of bounds.
Oh, he ripped it out of his arms.
The rookie from LSU, Torrey James, taking it away from Galloway.
This is a good catch. But then inside is number 34, Braxton. Look at James. Just absolutely rips it away from Joey Galloway. Now that is a big play. Great presence by the young man. Put it on the ground. Denver ball. Elway back in.
And play blown dead. Flags fly. Shannon Sharpe, illegal procedure it would appear.
Prior to the snap, false start, 84 offense, 5 yards, repeat first down.
Sharpe cost them 5, and the clock down to 1:03 after Torrey James made the great play on defense, causing the turnover, and Shanahan's offense will now try to get some points up there just before halftime. First and 15 from the 38 of Seattle. Another flag. Another illegal procedure.
Are we going to finish this half or what?
Prior to the snap, 75 offense, false start, 5 yards, repeat first down.
Well, the guilty party that time was Brian Habib, so now 10 yards further back than where they started, the Broncos with 1:03 left.
I think Mike Shanahan always wants to give John Elway a chance for one of those things that John Elway does, you know. Put it between 2 fingernails for a long completion.
He's in the gun. Outlet receiver, Craver off his hands, incomplete. 59 seconds left.
Hey, look, he's looking downfield, though. You know, John Elway, always one of the great creators in the game of football. And he knows that he's got the outlet receiver down there out to the side, but boy, he'd sure like to try it 25 yards down the field on the line.
Elway toward the sideline, over McCaffrey's head, incomplete. It'll bring up third down and 53 seconds remaining.
Would you agree with me that that hamstring has kind of tied Elway to the pocket? He doesn't want to take a chance with it. I think Seattle understands that. He's no threat to run.
Yeah, certainly playing it safe, isn't he? And wisely so.
Absolutely.
With the lead, and so a conservative approach in terms of his scrambling. The best third down conversion team in the NFL at a 50% clip here today. Hit just as he released it, and it goes out of bounds, incomplete. Sherrard and Elway Elway getting up slowly. A flag down where he was hit. This could be roughing the passer on Sam Adams.
Personal foul, roughing the passer, helmet to helmet hit. Number 98 defense, 15 yards, first down.
Boy, those are tough calls. What do you tell a defensive lineman? How do you discourage from doing that? Adams runs a game. When Elway finishes, you know, his head's a little lower. There is contact helmet to helmet.
So once again, by virtue of a Seattle penalty, Seattle, their own worst enemy at times, though they escaped with only a field goal the last time. Here they give the Broncos again a first down. First down handoff, Terrell Davis. Davis breaking free for a moment down to the 15-yard line. Denver first down. The clock shows 42 seconds. Darrell Williams makes the tackle.
Well, great acceleration as we have a Seahawk down. It's Jay Bellamy. There's so much. It looks like Terrell is limping a little bit. So much you got to like about this kid.
Right.
And acceleration is certainly one of them.
Garrison Hurst back up as a sophomore at Georgia after he had transferred from Long Beach State. He went there initially. George Allen, the legendary George Allen, was the coach, and Davis admitted he didn't even know who George Allen was. Didn't follow football, wasn't much of a fan growing up in San Diego. Went to Long Beach State. They dropped football. He was recruited by several major universities, and Georgia, a long way from home. That was the only drawback. He said his first visit to Athens convinced him that that was where he should be, and that's where he wound up. Backed up Garrison Hurst a year, and then moved into the starting spot. What was certainly not a featured back, as Eric Zier, the Georgia quarterback, was the one who really was the focus of the offense for the Bulldogs. And here he is, leading the NFL in rushing, and replaced now by Vaughn Hebron after he was a little slow coming off. Elway, there's the scramble, steps up to fire it complete. Diving reception made by Hebron, and timeout Elway with 35 seconds left. There was the old steam on the ball from John Elway as he planted it in the ribs of Vaughn Hebron.
Such awareness in the pocket. That's one thing that's always amazed me about John Elway. He's got decent protection here, but watch when he starts to slide forward. Just sets himself up, and there's that gun. He came with it, and I think he'll probably still have that thing when he's 50. That's one of those rare arms the league has ever seen. And, you know, he's never had a shoulder problem, elbow problem. That arm has always been healthy.
Well, we're in the stretch run of the NFL season now, of course, and next Sunday we'll have more NFL action for you. 12 noon Eastern, the NFL on NBC. Then most of you will see Brett Favre and the Packers host these Broncos. Could be a Super Bowl preview. Some of you will see Bruce Smith and the Bills take on the Seahawks. Others will see the Chargers battle the Steelers. That's the NFL on NBC next Sunday, starting at 12 noon Eastern time. Here, 20-7 with 35 seconds left. Vaughn Hebron remains in the game for Terrell Davis. First and goal, Denver. Elway's pass. Touchdown, McCaffrey. The 250th touchdown pass of John Elway's storied career, tied for 9th all-time on the NFL passing annals.
Well, last drive we saw him try to do this to Anthony Miller. This time to McCaffrey, a little taller. Couldn't really see the feet. The Seahawks defensive backs lobbying. He was out.
Elam's extra point is good. And the first half rout is underway, and McCaffrey with the 7th touchdown catch of this season, combining with Elway again after that bizarre play last week to the game winner against the Minnesota Vikings.
This is another one of those classic John Elway throws. Not the prettiest. 1, 2. Boy, that's a great job by McCaffrey. Gets both feet in. And John, yeah, he didn't know it's the 250th. He just knows that it's the 26th, heading towards 27th point.
Ed McCaffrey's wife saying they have a young child, and all season It's been Sterling Sharpe that's gotten the attention, caught most of the passes, and she's been saying, oh, look, there's Daddy. So, well, last week when McCaffrey was involved in that play with Elway against the Vikings, she was finally able to tell him, that is really your daddy.
Yeah, well, she's got to pay more attention. I mean, he had 6 touchdowns before that one. I mean, he has been in the end zone.
Well, the report from the Bronco bench, Terrell Davis, who sort of gimpy leaving the field just before that touchdown pass, is okay and can return for the Broncos. So they've been banged up a bit, but all have returned. Elway, Sharpe, and now Davis. Elam's kickoff buried into the end zone. It'll be down there by Harris. And 30 seconds remaining here till halftime, where we'll send you to Greg Gumbel and company in New York for the Domino's Pizza NFL on NBC halftime report.
Interesting to can't wait to hear what both Ditka and Joe Gibbs have to say about John Elway and his pulled hamstring. I mean, they have run the table with a win here today. Why chance John in the second half? Get in there, get ice on it, start treating it now. Makes him a little more of a candidate to play next weekend. Chris
Warren on the delayed handoff as the Seahawks hope to catch the Broncos napping a bit. Atwater with the stop for Denver. And they call a timeout, stopping the clock with 22 seconds. That is their final timeout.
Not a bad call. I'm sure there's a lot of Seahawk fans that don't like it, but when you've got a 3-man rush, 8 guys in coverage, you're giving it to your best running back. Hope he breaks a tackle and get the ball on the field.
Oakland with a 14-0 lead on the Dolphins at halftime. Well, the Seahawks, if you just joined us, found themselves down 7-0 after the Broncos took the opening kickoff. A 60-yard return by Hebron set them up for the touchdown drive, but the Seahawks came right back to tie it at 7. Since that time, it's been all Denver. And, of course, John Elway has been the master, despite aggravating a hamstring injury and leaving the field for a short time. 7 defensive backs on for the Broncos. One of them 30 yards downfield, Steve Atwater. Rick Meyer's going to scramble. He sees some green in front of him. Slides down at the first down marker. Keeps the clock running as Bill Romanowski covered him at that point. Now inside 10 seconds.
Well, he'd have been a lot smarter getting out of bounds.
Right.
Dennis Erickson will be all over him for that one.
And he stops the clock with 1 second left. Meyer with the feet first slide, but that kept the clock going, and he was right on the boundary. Could have gone out of bounds to stop it.
Yeah,
might have given them an extra play.
You're right. In the latter stages of a half or a game, you don't try to gain inches. You try to save seconds. And that slide cost them a good 7, 8, maybe even 10 or 12 seconds.
So barring penalty, the final play of the half coming up as the Seattle will go for the Hail Mary shot, I'm sure. 3 receivers lined up bottom of the screen, 1 to the top. Meyer throws it toward the end zone. It's not going to get there. And it falls incomplete with several hands reaching for it. And the first half will come to a close. Elway, despite aggravating the hamstring injury, leads them to the big halftime lead. We'll send you to New York and the Domino's Pizza NFL and halftime reports after a word from the NFL and a message from your local station.
This is the Domino's Pizza NFL on NBC halftime report, brought to you by Domino's Pizza. For hot and wow, call Domino's. Now.
Welcome back, everyone. It's funny how as the season progresses, the playoff picture begins to take shape, and this is week number 14, and at this stage, take a look at the playoff picture as it is right now in the AFC. Denver leading the way at 11-1. A Pittsburgh loss and a Buffalo loss complicate things just a little bit. What it does is it makes New England versus San Diego a huge football game, Joe Gibbs.
Well, it is going to be a big game. I think that's the key. I think the other thing today, Pittsburgh and Buffalo stumbling like they did. Buffalo, hey, they've got to get healthy. That wasn't a very good football team today. they got to get healthy and get back to have a chance. And I think the other thing that kind of surprised me was Pittsburgh with their defense and everything. I was surprised that Testaverde had such a good day against them.
You know, we have been thinking about how Pittsburgh could mount a challenge, if any team could, in the AFC. But what does that Pittsburgh loss on the road say to you?
Well, there are no excuses today for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and possibly it says they're not quite as good a team as we thought going into this thing. It still looks like the Denver Broncos are a very good team, but now you have to wonder, is Buffalo for real? Are the Pittsburgh Steelers for real? Because certainly today they did not look like a team that could contend for a Super Bowl. For the AFC Championship, yes. For a Super Bowl, no. I
kind of thought with all the Buffalo injuries, I thought that was a pretty good performance out of them.
Well, it really was by their defense. I mean, Bruce Smith almost won the game single-handedly. The guy was he was unbelievable on the football field. But they just didn't have any firepower on offense with that kid at quarterback, Collins, and they didn't have a running game. But I got to blame a lot on the offensive line. They seem to run different running plays when they don't have Thurman in there. And Thurman, and mostly what they do is draws and folds. The other thing, they were going straight ahead and they weren't getting very much yardage.
In the AFC, teams on the outside looking in, take a look. The Indianapolis Colts kept their hopes alive. They are 7-6. Miami is playing right now, as is Houston. And, you know, the Indianapolis Colts look like they have too many injuries to mount much of an attack. But what about Miami?
You never know about Miami, because today, going up against the Oakland Raiders, it looks like that they just aren't physical enough yet at the point of attack. Jimmy's trying to build on the offensive and the defensive lines, but that big offensive line from the Raiders appears to be taking over, and really that's been pretty much a story all year for that Miami Dolphins.
All right, let's take a look at the NFC playoff picture now. If the playoffs were to begin today, these are the top 6 teams. Green Bay, San Francisco, Carolina, Dallas, Washington, Philadelphia. The first thing you have to take note of, San Francisco plays Atlanta on Monday night, and then Carolina versus the 49ers next week for the top spot, Joe, in the NFC West.
If there's a surprise there to me in the NFL, what a fantastic job I think Don Capers has done. And when you take a look at Carolina, I tell you, those guys right now on defense, I wouldn't want to go up against them. They're blitzing. I mean, they're coming after people, and they're making them pay. It's just a matter of whether that young offense with Kerry Collins can make something happen and get them over the hump.
Well, Carolina, they are the Chinese bandits of professional football. I mean, they get after you. There's no question about that.
Chris?
You like that, Chinese bandits?
I do like that. I don't know if they've got enough offense to put it all together. But you're right about one thing. They look like that old Saints team. They look like that old Saints team getting pressure on the quarterback.
All right, guys, we'll take a timeout here, and our NFL on NBC halftime activities continue.
This is the Domino's Pizza NFL on NBC Halftime Report, brought to you by Domino's Pizza. For hot and wow, call Domino's. Now,
before we send you back for the second half of Seattle-Denver, welcome back, everyone. Greg Gumbel, Chris Collinsworth, Mike Ditka, Joe Gibbs, as we run down scores and highlights for you. In Oakland, the Raiders with a halftime lead over the Miami Dolphins, 14-0 is the score there. Jimmy Johnson hoping Miami can change its luck in Oakland, where the Dolphins are 0-8. Scoreless in the second quarter. Derek Fenner caps a 72-yard Raider drive with a 6-yard touchdown run. Raiders led 7-0 on the play. Fenner twisted his left knee, but was able to continue. And then after an interception of Dan Marino, Jeff Hostetler for Tim Brown, 22-yard touchdown pass play. Brown's 8th touchdown of the season. The Raiders led 14-0. Raiders are happy. Their fans are happy. Chris Collinsworth is not happy. Why not?
Well, you look at this Raiders football team. We've been watching this game all day long. They simply should be a playoff team. And they dominate both sides of the line of scrimmage. They can run the football on anybody in the National Football League, but they don't have the discipline to stay with it. They want to be a finesse team. You see them drive the ball right down the field with the running game, then go to reverse pass, play action pass. Just stay with the run and win football games.
Feel better now?
I do. I feel a lot better. Thank you.
We're happy for you.
No problem.
Happy Thanksgiving.
I'll take a break.
In Denver, the Broncos, with a victory today, can claim home field throughout the entire AFC playoff situation. They lead the Seattle Seahawks by a score of 27-7. John Elway has thrown 3 touchdown passes today. At the Meadowlands, the New York Jets lost quarterback Neil O'Donnell before they ever took the field. He pulled a right calf muscle, and they trailed the Houston Oilers 21-10 in the rain in New Jersey. And the New Orleans Saints at home to the St. Louis Rams and trailing by a score of 13-10. Earlier today in Indianapolis, the Colts and the Bills went to overtime, where Indy won it with a field goal. Backup quarterbacks starting for both teams. Todd Collins for Jim Kelly, Paul Justin for Jim Harbaugh. 7-0 Indy. Second quarter, Collins out of his own end zone to Quinn early. This is a 95-yard touchdown, the longest touchdown pass in Buffalo Bills history. It tied the game at 7. Tied at 10 in overtime, just over 8 minutes into the OT. Kerry Blanchard from 49 yards out to give the Colts a 13-10 win. These teams went to overtime earlier this season. Buffalo won the first encounter. The Colts come back and win this one by a score of 13-10. This is a big game for the Colts, Joe.
It was big. It was big for the Colts. Somehow Paul Justin he completed a few passes in the fourth quarter, got off to a shaky start. And the other good news for him is Marshall Faulk seemed to be running better in this game. On the other side, Buffalo's got to get healthy. Todd Collins, they had one pass play in there, but other than that, without Kelly in there, they just look like they have no offensive rhythm, and they're not the same ball club. I will say this: Bruce Smith had one of the greatest performances anybody's ever played on defense. Mike pointed out, and I am too. This is a great performance by him. I'm just sorry there are not more people going to see that.
Buffalo Bills' 4-game winning streak goes down the tubes. They are 9-4 on the year. At Baltimore, the Steelers went in, and the Ravens spanked them. 31-17, the final score. In the rain, Bam Morris rushed for 100 yards against his former team. 7-0 Ravens in the first. Mike Tomczak to Andre Hastings, who completes a 30-yard touchdown, and that pulls the Steelers even at 7. It was 10-7 Pittsburgh in the second. Vinny Testaverde scrambling. Then Derek Alexander, 7 catches, a career-high 198 yards receiving. 24-yard touchdown makes it 14-10 Baltimore. It became 24-17. Testaverde to Eric Green, a former Steeler, for a 4-yard score. Look at the day Vinny had. 15 for 23, 238 yards, 3 touchdowns. Mike, all of that in the rain.
Well, I'll tell you, Pittsburgh's got themselves in a real jam. They went down there thinking they could win this game, and they didn't win the game. But now they're 3-4 on the road. They won all their games at home. But the scenario coming down for the end of the season for them is not good. They got Carolina coming in there, and Carolina's playing good. But that ball game tonight between New England and San Diego takes on great significance.
All right, the Steelers fall to 9-4 on the year as well. In Green Bay, the Packers have won 13 straight at Lambeau Field. They knock off the Bears today, 28-17. The Eagles had lost 3 in a row. Beat the Giants today, 24-0. Philadelphia is 8-5 on the year. In Minnesota, Boomer Esiason had terrific weeks the last 3 times out, but the Vikings win it today, 41-17. Boomer threw for 271 yards and a touchdown. At Carolina, the Panthers stepped up. Their first franchise shutout, 24-0 over Tampa Bay. It snaps Tampa Bay's 3-game winning streak. The Panthers have won 4 in a row. They'll play San Francisco for the top spot in the NFC West next week. And in Jacksonville, the Jaguars have won 3 of their last 4 games. They improved to 6-7. They beat the Bengals 30-27. One other sports note today. Akeem Olajuwon of the Houston Rockets has checked into a Houston hospital, having suffered an irregular heartbeat for the 2nd time in just over 2 weeks. We'll send you back to Denver for the second half after these words from your local station.
Ready to start the second half, and the best team in the NFL appears to be on its way to locking up home field advantage in the playoffs. The big question remains John Elway aggravating a hamstring injury in the first half. Will he play in the second half? That may be the burning question here that remains.
It certainly looks like he's going to. I mean, he's thrown on the sideline. I don't see an ice bag on his hamstring, and generally when a player puts an ice bag on the hamstring, done for the day. So maybe John Elway a little healthier than we thought, but
right.
He had a great first half. I mean, the Denver Broncos absolutely dominated. Time of possession, look at that. Rushing yards, they got the big turnover. They got a lot of help from Seattle on the penalties that gave them so many shots inside the 10. I mean, you know, when you come to Mile High Stadium, play the Denver Broncos, where they have a wonderful record, you can't make mistakes.
All right, guys!
And Seattle's already given Denver just too many offensive opportunities in the first half, and Denver's taking advantage of them.
And those Coors Light halftime stats reflecting total domination by the Denver Broncos. Jason Elam with a second half kickoff. And Ronnie Harris is going to bring it out from 5 yards deep. Actually, it's Corey Harris with the return that time. Corey Harris with the return to the 15. So determined to make up for the 2 penalties that kept Denver drive alive. Would have been better advised to down it in the end zone. Instead, he brings it out. A 20-yard return. And, you know, last season the Broncos had a big halftime lead on Seattle here in Denver, and the Seahawks came from behind to win the game, but have, as of yet, shown no signs of a similar rally here. Rick Meyer, pass complete to Crumpler. He's to the 23-yard line. Tackled by Ray Crockett, 4th catch of the day.
Well, that's one of the things that it's very obvious that Seattle has chosen to protect Rick Meyer with the underneath stuff. Not really try much down the field, just keep you underneath stuff, and then throw deep to Joey Galloway. He had the big 40-yard reception in the first half. Meyer's not played poorly. He's done a decent job. It's just they've been overwhelmed by Denver.
Chris Warren, nice run, shaking off tacklers, has a first down. He's to the 32-yard line. Tackled there by Lionel Washington, as we saw a spark there from Chris Warren.
And again, you saw that little stutter move where he freezes the defense. That is a rare talent that no coach can take credit for. Remember, this kid, when he first came to the Seahawks, first 2 years he was just on special teams. And they said, why don't we try this kid at running back? 1,000-yard season, 1,000-yard season, 1,000-yard season, 1,000-yard season.
And to the Pro Bowl the last 3 years. First down pass. Meyer stepping up in the pocket, decides to run, and dives forward to the 35-yard line. Gained about 2 yards. John Mobley with the tackle for the Denver Broncos. Actually covered the diving Rick Meyer.
Actually, all he's gone through, Rick Meyer, with the Jeff George situation, wasn't told by management, read about it in the papers. I think he's shown a side of himself that should show him in good stead to other teams in the NFL, should they be interested.
He's handled it with class, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Ironic that it was Jeff George who was brought in and talked about the trade when in high school he broke all of Jeff George's Indiana passing records. Chris Warren, tackled by Alan Aldridge.
And you know, the other thing about Jeff George, which is rather odd to me, when he left Purdue, he had committed to the University of Miami. Now, Dennis Erickson was not there yet. But Jeff George has said, I'm going to Miami, then for some strange reason changed his mind, showed up at Illinois, and then they entertained thoughts of Jeff George. He's a coach killer.
The Seahawks saying that they have no more interest in Jeff George, that John Freeze will be their quarterback. Blitz, Meyer throws it away. Alan Aldridge had a free pass right up the middle, and Meyer takes a seat on the turf, setting up a 4th down.
And this is a great call by Greg Robinson, the defensive coordinator. Here he is. He delays just enough that the offensive linemen are already committed to other people, untouched. This is the way you break the momentum of a drive. A late blitz.
And so Tootin will punt. Rod Smith watching it sail over his head, backs up to field it at the 5. Smith buried at about the 17-yard line. Kyle leading the charge on special teams after a 58-yard boot by Rick Tootin. Elway set to come back.
The NFL on NBC is brought to you by Honda, vehicles designed to help simplify your life. By BASF, we don't make a lot of products you buy, we make a lot of the products you buy better. By Taco Bell, there's nothing ordinary about it. Taco Bell. And by Radio Shack. You've got questions, we've got answers.
I wouldn't leave that gingerbread model of a Mile High around Michael Dean Perry too long. There's the real one here at Mile High. And first down, John Elway at the controls, and immediately hits Shannon Sharpe, who spins away for a moment, then is taken down by Robert Blackman. And while we were away in that last commercial, John Elway, awaiting the go signal, was stretching out that left hamstring. There he is. This is while we were in commercial, as he made sure he kept that hamstring loose.
Yeah, and the higher the pull in the hamstring, the worse it is, because the muscle gets a lot bigger as it goes up to his rear end. So it's something that appears to now be chronic for Elway.
Elway on target again. McCaffrey on the receiving end this time for a Denver first down. And those last 2 passes mark another milestone for John Elway. He's gone over 3,000 yards passing for this season. That's the 11th time in his 14-year career that he has exceeded 3,000 yards passing, tying Dan Marino for the most career 3,000-yard seasons.
He is, like Dan Marino, not interested in records, except wins.
Davis in motion, stops, and then the pass to Sharpe from Elway gets about 8 yards. That is 4 catches for Sharpe today. Dean Wells tracks him down. Always a tough assignment, a linebacker covering Shannon Sharpe.
Yeah, and it's almost, I don't care who you put on him, you can't defense it. I mean, you know, it's just such a short drop. And I mean, it's, what did he gain? 8 or 9 yards on that one? I mean, you know, it's like a run, but that's one of the features of the West Coast offense.
Davis can't quite turn the corner, cuts up, does have enough for a first down.
And Tom, in the first half, we noted in the stats we got that 8 different receivers caught passes from Musgrave and John Elway, another feature of the West Coast offense.
Spreading the ball around and doing it very efficiently today, John Elway, as they, well, it didn't get a very generous spot because it looked like Davis had well enough for the first down. They're going to have to call the chains out. And it is indeed enough. And don't mention Bronco football spots to the Minnesota Vikings these days, huh?
You're cruel. Another aspect of this West Coast offense, Bill Walsh was the guy who originally designed it. His idea was you make the defense defend every play on every part of the field. Even if it's for a 2-yard gain, they got to make the tackle.
And who would have guessed, really, that the Mad Bomber John Elway would be a perfect fit for the West Coast. Terrell Davis, only a couple of yards. Michael McCrary wraps him up.
Yeah, your point is well taken, because this has never been considered a down-the-field offense. It's more move the chains deliberately, take the high percentage. If you've got an excellent running game to go with it, I mean, it just makes it that much better. The defense, when they play this West Coast offense, they never feel comfortable. They never feel, the coordinator never feels like he makes the right call. They just dink and dunk you to death.
Steps away from pressure and throws it wide of McCaffrey. Incomplete, setting up a 3rd and long.
Yeah, Seahawks that time, they came with the blitz, and they just had one more guy than Denver could block. Showing a little mobility there. You're going to see the blitzer come. He drops out, all kinds of pressure. What's Elway doing here? And kind of thrown off the back foot, but he was throwing in a hurry to avoid the sack.
From the shotgun. 5 receivers. Rifles it complete. Catch made by Rod Smith. Pretty good coverage by Corey Harris, and Smith, as the ball zipped to him, was able to hold on. Good on that throw, didn't he?
Yeah, I don't care what offense you put in there. There is no substitute for strength of arm. Man coverage with all these receivers. Smith actually fades the pattern, which is a no-no in the NFL. And Elway again. This is, boom. That baby is, we're talking RPMs there.
And vapor trail. First down, Denver. They're in Seahawk territory. Elway's pass, complete. Craver down the sideline. Aaron Craver stopped by Corey Harris. Different receivers for the Denver quarterbacks today, as Craver makes a big gain down the sideline for the Broncos.
At linebacker coverage, Terry Wooden number 90 on him, and again, I mean, it's just a short little completion that they turn into a very big gain.
Ball at the Seattle 12-yard line, first down, Denver. Davis in motion. Elway Short completion to Craver again to the 5-yard line. Wrestled down by Dean Wells.
What it's done is just this drive just kept the defense on the field. It just does not give the defense any time whatsoever to catch their breath. Look, it looks over the entire field. Again, a nice little dump off. Gary Kubiak will be very proud of that. Finding that outlet receiver, keeping the drive alive.
2nd down and 4 now. The ball spotted at the 6-yard line. Davis. Touchdown.
How about that drive?
Thing of beauty, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
West Coast offense at its best.
Watch Shannon Sharpe running right at the strong safety. That's a mismatch. You've got Habib pulling. You've got Broderick Thompson, the right tackle, pulling.
Beautifully done, and the extra point good.
Now, the only thing Mike Shanahan has to do now is he has to get handcuffs and chain Elway to the bench for the rest of the day.
We'll see. Terrell Davis just scoring for the Broncos, and bad news for the rest of the AFC. They're about to go 7-0 at Mile High Stadium and about to wrap up home field throughout the AFC playoffs. Harris downs it. Big question is, will John Elway return?
This is the NFL on NBC.
Welcome back to Denver. Tom Hammond, Bob Trumpy. On the right, Alex Gibbs. Gary Kubiak, the offensive coordinator, on the left. And that last drive was one, as we were saying, Bob, you make a tape of that and take it to the clinics with you.
Absolutely. Do it this way, gentlemen. You'll win most games.
Rick Meyer zips it complete on 1st down. Galloway bouncing off tacklers like a pinball to the 40-yard line. Mobley and Washington hit him, and he bounced forward, his 3rd reception of the game.
And Mobley hit him so hard he knocked him out of the tackle. I mean, this kid has been extraordinary, but watch the quickness of Galloway. Fakes in, out, in. Watch Mobley. Boom. Watch it. Knocks him right past Washington for an additional 6 yards.
Chris Warren, nowhere to go. Alan Aldridge, the linebacker, there first. And then Tyrone Braxton arrived on the scene. So did Dan Williams. Well, 2 premier running backs on display today, Chris Warren and Terrell Davis. And as you might expect, Terrell Davis with the best of it. Davis, with that last touchdown, already has moved to 6th all-time in only his 2nd season.
Good.
6th all-time in touchdowns scored for Denver. Meyer, whoa, ball loose. It'll be ruled down as Blades took a shot from Braxton. He already had sore ribs, and now they say incomplete. Braxton leveled him.
Braxton did play corner. They moved him to safety. Blades is a tough kid. Got a bad shoulder, bad ribs. Now he's got better ribs.
Oh, that hurt me.
That is a hit. Braxton's amazing. Everybody on the defense gets complimented. Braxton stands back there, allows Atwater to get the line of scrimmage, gets all the interceptions. He never seems to be out of position.
3rd down. Atwater's right up at the line of scrimmage. They show blitz. Aldridge coming now. Atwater and Myers got no place to go with the football.
Pritchard ran the wrong pattern. There's another feature of this defense. Steve Atwater at the line of scrimmage. He's going to be, because the running back was blocking, now he puts pressure on the quarterback. You saw Chris Warren on the ground, but Mike Pritchard ran the wrong route. Meyer threw it out. He went in.
Rick Tootin to punt. 5th time today. And Smith awaits the punt. Not a very good one. Though it takes a Seattle bounce. It's better get away from it, and does barely, as it's down at the 7-yard line. So it turns into a good play for Seattle. It's been all Denver. We'll be back. Broncos kicking up their heels here with a 34-7 lead on the Seahawks and looking to wrap up home field throughout the playoffs. They are backed up here to their own 7, and John Elway remains at quarterback despite aggravating a hamstring injury in the first half. Hand off to Terrell Davis, who makes it to about the 9-yard line here at Mile High Stadium, one of the best stadiums at which to broadcast a game in the NFL. Here's our spot, a good view from here. And you were saying if they build a new stadium, they hope it's just like this one. But the question here is, should Elway still be out there?
It's already been answered. He's still out there.
But should he be?
Yeah, I'm shocked, frankly. The game is firmly in grasp. Right. I'm guessing that John Elway has the stature on his team with Mike Shanahan that I want to be a part of the fun. Therefore, don't take me out. I'll come out when I'm ready.
Here's an Elway pass caught by Miller, and Anthony Miller taken down immediately by Carlton Gray and Winston Moss. Only his second catch of the game.
There's certainly nothing gained by John Elway staying in the game.
Well, you know, maybe it just could be that the injury is nothing, that he says it's
You're
nothing.
Right. You're absolutely right. And I've played the same game that the press here in Denver has. John Elway's career has spanned a newspaper war here, and anything that happens to John Elway, including candy given out in Halloween, haircuts, overreaction. I apologize if I overreacted.
Everything magnified when it has to do with that man, that's for sure. Moss was offside attempting to blitz. A free play for the Broncos and a 5-yard step off upcoming. The pass too wide for Mike Sherrard. So another Seahawk penalty that will give Denver a first down, apparently.
What is that, 4 or 5 times that's happened today?
Too many.
Yeah, too many is right. Well put.
Offside, right defensive end, 5 yards. By measurement, that's a first down.
I think you're right. It was Winston Moss.
Yeah, he was a linebacker coming on a blitz. There he says, my fault. And first down, Denver. Elway steps up. He's going to run and takes it easy. Goes to the turf at the 24-yard line. And here again, we see the caution that he's playing with.
Yeah, you just can't take the competitor out of this guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And that's a good thing.
Sure, no matter what the injury. But again, always had that ability to step up. Now, the offensive line does a great job of protecting. They push everybody to the outside. He doesn't want to run.
Yep. A reluctant runner, but playing it safe. Before contact is made, he goes down. 2 rushes, 7 yards. Not a typical John Elway rushing game, although he did have a touchdown on the quarterback sneak. Here's Terrell Davis. Man, look how quickly he cut up the field, planted and cut. Winston Moss takes him down.
It's hard to describe this kid, you know. He's a heavy runner, but he's a slasher. I mean, he'll wait, and then that first step up, and it's really impressive. Again, Zimmerman 65 on the pull. He waits. Where's the little gap then? That step right there, that acceleration, just a wonderful trait. We just got to find somebody for him to have next Thanksgiving with. I mean, he can't be sitting by himself.
I think he likes it. He is, as we've called him, the reluctant superstar. He certainly has knocked on the door of superstar status, but he doesn't really relish the attention. After picking up a first down on the last one, he gets only 2 yards here before Joe Nash trips him up.
Second pick of the 6th round for the Denver Broncos.
Number 196 in the draft. And credit to the coaching staff of the Broncos for recognizing his talent.
How about Curtis Martin from the New England Patriots?
Same thing. Huh?
Very similar. Look at that game plan that Mike Shanahan's got. He's about 5 pages into it now. What else can we try?
When you start making a new fold on your game plan, you know it's you're running out of things. Everything's worked. Here's Davis again.
You know, in talking to Mike Shanahan, he's done a lot of things very smart, but with the age of this team, and he's got some key members on this team getting up in years. Training camp, he said, you guys are working out once a day in the morning. Afternoon, I want conditioning. That's why you got Michael Dean Perry at 275, not 300. And he put him on the treadmill or lifting weights.
After a while, he said, Michael Dean said, Coach, can I practice? I'm tired of that treadmill and that exercise bike.
Yeah, and Shanahan said, no, you keep treadmilling him.
Elway zips it downfield too far. Intended for Rod Smith. Smith was behind the defense.
And how much change has taken place in the Denver Broncos? Elway, Atwater, Braxton Sharpe, 4 starters, and a heck of a guy on the radio, Reggie Rivers, and a heck of a writer. So Shanahan has made a major change in the roster of this football team.
Tom Ruin will punt to Harris. Harris, fair catch call, and taken at the 31-yard line. 46 seconds left in the third quarter. We'll take a break after that 36-yard punt. Another long afternoon for Dennis Erickson and the Seattle Seahawks, and with all the distractions, it has not been a pleasant 1.5 years for Dennis Erickson. With the ownership problems, the abortive move to Anaheim, the ongoing quarterback questions, just about everything that can go wrong has gone wrong for Erickson and Seattle.
Yeah, I think the line that they use up in the Northwest is damage control. Right. That's all he's been able to do.
Meyer changing the play on first down. Ricky Prohl didn't turn around in time, and Meyer not happy with that. Looked like the ball was on target, and Prohl just failed to look when he came out of his cut.
One of the things that Erickson did not like about Rick Meyer is that he just threw the ball around indiscriminately. Didn't really protect it. He's done a great job of that today, and actually he did a great job of that last week too. He didn't really turn the ball over as much as he previously had.
Draw play. Lamar Smith crosses the 40-yard line, taken down by Alan Aldridge. Ticking down toward the end of the third quarter in Denver.
The only thing that Erickson knows for sure is that John Freese will be a starting quarterback next year. Maybe indoors or outdoors in Seattle. Maybe somewhere between Anaheim and Seattle. I mean, not even sure the colors are going to be the same. Who's going to own the team?
Pitch it to Lamar Smith, and uses his blockers effectively to net a first down as he comes to the 47-yard line, bringing the third quarter to a close. Denver in command after 3, and will return to Mile High Stadium after these messages from your local station.
Football League and is intended for the private use of our audience. Any rebroadcast or other use of this telecast without the express written consent of the NFL is prohibited.
Tom Hammond and Bob Trumpy ready to start the fourth quarter in Denver, where the Broncos assumed control from the outset and are cruising here as we begin the fourth. AFC West champions on their way to that title and home field as well. Crumpler can't hold on as Meyer was sent to the turf as he released the football.
See who was in coverage? Alfred Williams, 91, defensive end.
Alfred Williams, the former Colorado Buffalo, who was drafted by Cincinnati. They moved him from linebacker to defensive end. He didn't like it. He fought the switch the whole way. Left for the San Francisco 49ers, but all along had a plan which would get him back into Colorado, and finally talked Mike Shanahan into signing him this season.
Yeah, with 13 sacks. Leads the NFL. Not a bad signing.
Galloway. Catch. Long gain. First down. Out of bounds. 30-yard line. Hilliard runs him out at that point.
That's the second time that Galloway.
Hey, catch, long gain, first down, out of bounds, 30-yard line. Hilliard runs him out at that point.
That's the second time that Galloway has burned Randy Hilliard. You do have to respect his speed. There's no question about that. Leading 34-7, you're not going to give up achievement, but still great quickness by Joey Galloway.
Actually, Braxton came over to get him out of bounds as Hilliard tried to recover with the angle on him. Fourth catch of the day for Joey Galloway. Lamar Smith cutting back for a pretty good gain. Tackled by Bill Romanowski. Romanowski, the leading tackler for the Broncos, has been relatively quiet today, but as we noted at the start of the game, has been a crucial addition to this defense.
In fact, he told us yesterday this is the fourth defensive scheme he's learned in 4 years. Was it Philadelphia? He is a dual-purpose linebacker. He plays inside on the pass rush set, outside, leads the team in tackles as an outside linebacker. Rather rare.
Myers pass, intercepted, one-hand grab by James. Ricky Prohl lost control of it off his hands, and for the second time today, Torrey James has a takeaway, but a penalty against Denver, personal foul, to see if it was post-possession. James, you'll remember, took the ball away from Joey Galloway for a turnover earlier.
Personal foul, unnecessary roughness, 91 defense. After the change of possession, half the distance to the goal, first down Denver.
Alfred Williams with the penalty, and it is post-possession, and so the James takeaway stands.
Let's see what Williams does here. This is a nice catch by James.
Yes,
one-handed.
That would do a receiver proud.
Yes, it would.
2 takeaways today for the former LSU Tiger.
The NFL on NBC is brought to you by the Pepsi-Cola Company, who reminds you that nothing else is a Pepsi. By Toyota and their full line of quality cars and trucks. Toyota, I love what you do for me. By Staples, the office superstore. And by Miller Lite, with the great taste of an ice cold Miller Lite, life is good.
Yeah, Bronco fans, you might want to think about lining up for those playoff tickets, because the AFC Championship will come through Denver. 13:45 left before that is official. John Elway still at quarterback. Deep in his own territory, he hands to Craver. Aaron Craver bouncing off tacklers. Big gain to the 35-yard line. Boy, how do you like that for a 1-2 punch? Terrell Davis, and then you bring on Aaron Craver.
You know, that kid couldn't make the Miami team, but watch the hole the offensive line creates. Habib 75, the middle linebacker, Wells slips a little bit. This kid does not give up on any run. Now, they couldn't use him in Miami. I don't know what the scoop is, but as a fullback, he's willing to block. You know, Seattle doesn't want to see him on their sideline any longer than they have to.
Try to tie him up to keep him from going back on the field.
Yeah, well, they can't sign him. He'd be over the cap.
He didn't get anything. They were ready for him that time. He was met at the line of scrimmage by Michael Sinclair.
Now, see, this is one of the things that I like about the Denver offense. They can really beat a team up at the line of scrimmage with both Terrell Davis and Aaron Craver. They both run in very similar styles. Each is willing to block for the other.
5 rushes, 32 yards. Not a bad average for Aaron Craver today, as Terrell Davis returns. Here is Davis, using his blockers, twisted down right around the first down marker by Michael McCrary. Spot of the football will tell whether he has enough yardage or not.
I think
looks to be just short.
Excuse me, I think that puts him over 100 yards. His 7th 100-yard rushing day of the year. Yeah, not bad. You tend to go on and on about this offense, don't you?
You do. You know, he had 1,100 yards when he tore his hamstring against these Seahawks on December 10th last year, or would have had even more, 1,100 yards as a rookie. And another 100-yard rushing day, well over 1,300 for this season. And not, as you said earlier, wearing down and not hitting the wall as much this season as he did as a rookie, which is a normal occurrence.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. I mean, that 10th game, my college season's over. What are we doing out here again this weekend?
I think I do play 11 now, Tom. It's been a while since you were in college.
Yeah, I guess you're right. They do play 11. It's been a long while since I was in college. In fact,
which college was it?
The last one. I played the last game in Mile High Stadium.
Oh,
first
yes.
down.
That little pimple on the end of the football was enough.
I played the last game in Mile High Stadium that was not sold out. 1969.
Is that right? Or were you the reason?
No, it wasn't me. I was.
You weren't much of a draw.
No, I was not much of a draw, but then neither was Denver. But then shortly after that.
Is that when they had those vertical stripes?
No, not quite. They had Floyd Little. They had a pretty decent team. But these people in Denver love football. Remember when the U.S. Football League was here? The Denver Gold led the league in attendance.
Von Hebron. Pretty nice tough run with tacklers hanging on. McCaffrey finally got him down with help from Darrell Williams. Well, NBC's Thanksgiving Spectacular continues tonight with Jurassic Park, one of the biggest motion pictures of all time. Tonight at a special time, 8:30, 7:30 Central, from director Steven Spielberg. Jurassic Park tonight after Third Rock on NBC. You know, something that's a great movie. The effects, everything is first class about it, but something that that maybe people don't appreciate, the music, the score of that.
That's beautiful. I agree with you.
Hebron.
I was going to mention that with Denver winning their 9th straight, they treated a lot of their opponents like that Tyrannosaurus Rex or the Brontosaurus or whichever one had teeth, ate everything. I mean, they have destroyed opponents.
In fact, you come into Mile High and you leave thinking you've seen 101 Dalmatians, a lot of spots.
Look at this home field record. You know, that's pretty darn impressive here in Mile High Stadium. That's why I know they want to, that includes the playoffs. And the only team I give a chance to win here in the playoffs is Pittsburgh, only because they play so similarly to Denver.
And history on the Broncos side. Look at that. Home field throughout the playoffs. 77, 87, 89, all three to the Super Bowl. We'll be back. Picturesque Mile High Stadium in the gloaming. 10:02 left, and John Elway has just trotted off the field.
How about that for Mike Shanahan? Giving Elway a round of applause, waiting to send him in. You think Shanahan's not Elway sensitive?
John talking about how their relationship had changed a bit, said gain a coach, lose a friend, but the friendship is the basis of that relationship. Main flag down as McCaffrey takes Bill Musgrave's pass for an apparent first down. However, a Denver penalty will nullify it.
Well, that's a touch of class by Mike Shanahan, you know?
It really is.
Absolutely. There's no...
Holding 76 offense, 10 yards, repeat third down.
Broderick Thompson.
There is no reason to do that other than to allow the people in Mile High Stadium to appropriately pay respect to this franchise's greatest player ever. That's nice. The other thing is what Michael Dean Perry told us. Mike Shanahan had the weigh-in this week Thursday morning, before Thanksgiving, not after.
Pitch to Hebron. Made a very nice run out of it. Von Hebron got the game started with a 60-yard kickoff return and takes this one for a first down to the 37-yard line, where Darrell Williams and Robert Blackman track him down and take a little piece of sod back to the huddle with him.
That may be the longest lateral I have ever seen. That thing had to be 10 or 12 yards. I mean, Hebron has to spin around, great agility to grab a hold of it, still get up the field.
Well, Trumpy, when do you think producer David Michaels is going to have us weigh in?
Never, I hope. Never.
Stan Dick Klein, our director, has already passed the test. On Hebron again. And they got him at the line of scrimmage. Dean Wells did the honors for Seattle.
You know, we were talking about Mike Shanahan. When he got this job, he used to be the offensive coordinator. He used to play Gary Kubiak to John Elway. First thing he understood was how I deal with John. First thing John Elway understood is how I deal with Mike. They were best of friends. Spent 40, 50 hours a week together. And Mike said, look, I don't talk to John 5 minutes a week now. I know that there has to be the separation. And we approached John with it. He knew the exact same thing immediately. I knew we'd never have the same relationship again.
And John's dad, being a coach, gave John some idea of how that separation has to work.
Sure. Yes.
Hebron pounds ahead.
Jack helps. There's no question about that. But their wives and kids are still friends. And now the relationship is Kubiak and Elway. Because Gary Kubiak was drafted the same year as John Elway, was his roommate for 8 years, probably seen John Elway play more than anybody on this franchise except for the trainer, Steve Antonopoulos. I mean, they used to be roommates on the road. He said, now, you know, we go our own separate ways, but we still have a great relationship, and their wives and kids are great friends.
Third down here for Bill Musgrave. Shoots it complete, but short of the first down. Anthony Miller with the catch. Carlton Gray hit him immediately and stopped him short of the first down.
Fans want
not much short.
Yeah. Fans want Mike Shanahan to go for it here on fourth down.
And a whole lot of risk in doing so.
And they're going.
And Reggie Rivers and Vaughn Hebron check into the backfield, as Musgrave said. Let's go after it.
Yeah, maybe just to try to draw Seattle offsides.
71% on fourth downs for the course of the season.
And he's going to take a timeout here because the decision took so long on the sideline. Doesn't want the penalty. Call the timeout there. 1 tick left on the 25-second clock. Let's see if the decision stays the same.
Well, John Elway gave everyone here at Mile High a bit of a moment of concern. It happened on the second possession of the Broncos, first play of that possession. Elway back to pass, chased from the pocket, sends it downfield, and look how he pulls up, a little gimpy, and he clutches his left hamstring. He would leave the field, go to the locker room, but when he returned, he received a pounding. Cortez Kennedy sends him to the turf. Here's Big Tez again, fighting the blockers and taking Elway down. And Sam Adams got in on the act. He made it helmet to helmet and drew a penalty. Unnecessary roughness for that shot. But Elway bounced back up, kept it going, stayed in the game despite the aggravated hamstring injury, and passed for a mark of 250 touchdown passes, to this one to McCaffrey, and also went over 3,000 yards passing for the season today. Finished with 189 yards and a couple of milestones for the great one.
Yeah. Tom, I just noticed on that touchdown pass to McCaffrey, he almost bobbled the snap. I mean, even people here in Denver admit that watch what happens here when he gets the ball from Neyland. See, that ball is almost out of his hands. And a lot of people around the league have said, man, Denver's been lucky this year. They play the fourth place schedule. They get that tip pass for a touchdown last week. You know, sometimes a team that makes it all the way is a team of destiny, and they've gotten a great many breaks.
What do we say to start the day? Life is good for John Elway.
And you got to knock that grin off his face.
And we repeat what we said earlier. He had a big Thanksgiving. His wife had a lot of her relatives in town, so he hosted a Thanksgiving dinner for 23 people.
Yeah, what did he say? There were no sandwiches afterwards?
No sandwiches left over after that. No turkey left over for any sandwiches.
And Janet did all the cooking for those 23. Well, he owes her at least one dinner out this week. John knows that no matter how far they go in the playoffs, this is the best team he will be on in a Denver Bronco uniform in the playoffs.
And no longer haunted by that chasing to win a Super Bowl. This is a 4th down play. Musgrave threw it. Bounced right off Carswell, the tight end, who never looked. It hit him literally right in the hands and the pads. So that's about the only thing that's gone wrong for Denver today. Nice looking Phillies in Bronco land. And all smiles around Denver. The party's already underway. A few folks have left, but not too many.
Whoops.
Myers pass behind Galloway and incomplete. And to repeat what was at stake today, the Denver Broncos with this victory will claim their first AFC West title since 1991. And thanks to losses by Buffalo and by Pittsburgh, they have clinched first round bye in the playoffs and home field all the way through the AFC Championship game. Draw play. Lamar Smith. Tackled by Keith Burns. How complete has been the Denver domination today? Here's one way of gauging it. Time of possession. 37-23 for Denver to 16 for Seattle.
My goodness. 397 yards for Denver.
Nice catch that time by Brian Blades. The ball low and behind him, and he was able to hold on, and then Tyrone Braxton sent him down.
I love the comment by John Elway when we talked to him yesterday. He said, look, it's the first time in my career that I feel anytime we walk on the field, we can beat anybody that's across from us. I don't think they ever had that feeling when they were in previous Super Bowls.
Ooh, Atwater just leveling the receiver on the sideline. I mean, and that'll draw a penalty as he completely blasted Mike Pritchard over there on the sideline.
Yeah, and in Atwater's defense, he's looking at the receiver, not the sideline. Pritchard goes to the outside. It's just a double zone, and watch what Atwater's looking at. Just the receiver.
But the ball's already gone by.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Unnecessary roughness. Number 27 defense. 15 yards from the previous spot. First down.
I agree with the call.
Do you?
I think it should have been penalized.
Well,
The ball's not even a catchable ball. He had dead aim on him, and legally you're supposed to play the ball, are you not?
Well, legally in hockey you're supposed to play the ball. No question about that.
Well, that would have looked good in the hockey game.
Yeah.
I will say that. It was a pretty good cross-check.
Yeah, that might get Gene Washington's attention too, you know.
Rick Myers steps away from trouble. Showed his old Notre Dame option form there for a minute, faking. I don't know what he was faking, but showed the ball a little bit and then scampers out of bounds, chased by John Mobley.
And Brian Blades with a nice little block. This has always been a big part of Rick Myers' game. Running when in trouble, strong kid.
Watch this little thing here. What's going to do with this football here? Well,
Yeah, well, maybe he saw the rookie 51 Mobley. Maybe I can trick this kid.
he was hoping Jerome Bettis was back there behind him again. Stranger things have happened. That might happen next year, you know.
Yeah, Meyer to Bettis. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Lamar Smith on the carry. Braxton takes care of him.
So have we left anything out?
Well, I don't know.
Just answer me this question. Dig deep in your memory. Look for the small print. Have we left anything out?
I noticed that Shanahan, I was going to comment a moment ago, backed up what Elway said. He said that with our defense and our running game now intact to go with Elway in the passing game, he said the same thing Elway said. We can compete with anybody.
Yes.
We have a chance of beating anybody. Now, that doesn't mean they always will, of course, but he said we have a chance with anybody. Anybody in the AFC, anybody in the NFC. Meyer for the end zone, and out of the end zone, incomplete. Galloway, the intended receiver, defended by Darius Johnson.
And to confirm what you're talking about, AFC or NFC, they can compete with anybody. The 4 Super Bowls that Denver played in, I always thought their approach was finesse. I mean, they never really tried to overpower the NFC opponent. They tried to go reverses over them, around them. They never tried to go through them. This team can go through any team in the NFL.
they can line up and play a toe-to-toe physical football with anybody.
And to think Shanahan has turned that around in 1 year plus 13 games of his second season.
Blitz comes. Meyer reads it, but can't complete the pass. And a flag flies as a shoving match occurred downfield. Carlester Crumpler was the intended receiver, but somebody else, I think, was downfield wrestling. As you see the other scores, Oakland in front of Miami, 3 Marino interceptions in that game.
My goodness, what has happened to Miami?
Penalty against Seattle.
Illegal hands to the face, 85 offense, 10 yards, repeat second down.
Mike Pritchard perhaps trying to extract a measure of revenge for that shot he took over on the sideline a minute ago.
Yeah, and that the case, well, each of them got penalized. Atwater for the hit.
So justice is done.
Justice is done.
Out of bounds. Blades latched onto it deep into Denver territory. They'll spot the ball at about the 6-yard line where Tyrone Braxton bumped Brian Blades out of bounds.
Speaking of distractions, Brian Blades has certainly had his share of distractions, has he not?
And not to mention the injuries that have hampered his effectiveness here in recent weeks.
It's a nice throw by Rick Meyer, Tom. And that's a rifle shot. Excellent catch by Blades.
3rd down and 4 from the 6-yard line. Meyer again has a receiver that didn't see it, and it's picked off by Braxton after it bounced off Ricky Prohl. Braxton with the interception, and for the second time today, Meyer has been intercepted after the ball bounced off a receiver. It's been that kind of afternoon for the Seahawks.
Next Sunday on NBC, a possible Super Bowl preview. The Broncos. John Elway and company have stampeded to the NFL lead. The Packers. Brett Favre has Green Bay feeling super. NFL powers clash at storied Lambeau Field. Or the Bills battle the Seahawks or regional action. The NFL on NBC next Sunday.
And, of course, next Sunday, these Broncos will indeed be up at the frozen tundra of Lambeau Field.
Very well done. Very well done.
Which could be a preview of the Super Bowl. Vaughn Hebron gets the call. An interesting approach here for Denver. The game now becomes virtually meaningless, but you don't want to back off. You have to have momentum heading into the playoffs, and they face 3 pretty good teams left on the schedule at Green Bay, Oakland here, and at San Diego. So I suspect that Denver will be cranked up and ready to go as usual.
And, you know, Shanahan's done a great job of keeping them up. I mean, this is their 9th straight win. They're now 12-1, 7-0 at home. And, yeah, they got a break last week in Minnesota, but they created the break.
Right. Good teams, that seems to happen to. You know,
Yep.
that sort of thing seems to happen to a good team. Here's Reggie Rivers. And that last game at San Diego could be important for the Chargers. Still fighting to make the playoffs as a wild card, and that could be important for San Diego. They play, San Diego does, at Pittsburgh next week, as the Steelers will try to bounce back and the Chargers try to keep it going.
But again, the difference in this football team is they control it from the front back. I mean, they beat you up offensively with their big offensive line, and they tear you up defensively, and then when all else fails, well, let's go to John Elway.
Right, you've always got that still there. Bill Musgrave flips it complete to Sherrard. And that's another Denver first down as we approach the 2-minute warning. 2:28 left.
But they stopped the clock. They must have ruled that Sherrard went out of bounds.
I think they did.
Stop the clock there. Seattle would just as soon keep running.
So would most everyone. Hebron lowered his head and is wrestled back by Dean Wells. Pretty good collision right there. And we'll tick down now to the 2-minute timeout. 2-minute warning on what has been a memorable afternoon for the champion Denver Broncos. We'll be back. A reminder that following the game on most of these stations, it's Dateline Sunday, then the must-see comedy Third Rock from the Sun, followed by the network premiere of Jurassic Park tonight on NBC. Viewers on the West Coast will see these shows at their regularly scheduled times. Just playing out the final 2 minutes here, but first, false start and a 5-yard step off. And while we were away in commercial, here's what happened on the Denver sideline. Ray Crockett, Michael Dean Perry are the villains in this case as they close in on Mike Shanahan. Whoa, that is cold.
Tom, you know who the setup man was? John Elway.
Look at Elway. Oh,
his good friend, John Elway.
I hope he didn't strain his hamstring. That was the quickest he's moved all day.
Absolutely.
Elway getting out of target range. Mike Shanahan.
Yeah, his first dumping.
So put us on that sideline. Take us back, way back to your playing days.
Way back.
What's it like to accomplish something that you began with the sweat of July and August and carried through a long season, and now you've, as we watch Elway again, the decoy move away from it. What's it like?
You know, Tom, I'll tell you, there's a lot of lingering for the rest of the season and in the playoffs. Guys linger in the locker room after the game. After practice, they hang around. I've heard coaches liken it to the spokes of a wheel.
On Hebron. Well, he's been one of the stars of the day. He set the tone right from the opening kickoff, didn't he?
Yeah, with that big return.
Look, I think, did you see a minute ago just before we cut to the play? I think Shanahan was saying to Elway, I'm going to get even with you.
But the feeling as a team is, you know, you start the season and you think you know these guys, and then as the season ends and you accomplish what you want to accomplish, all of a sudden you got your best friends around you, Shannon Sharpe and Terrell Davis and everybody. You get closer and closer and closer. That's why I think losing in the playoffs is so painful to most teams, because for some teams it is a dream. For some teams it's not a dream. You know, this is what our season started to accomplish. Began to what we wanted. But I mean, this is got to be a wonderful feeling for Shanahan, Greg Robinson, the defensive coordinator, and his bunch. And it's just their second year here.
Romanowski, who's played such a big part in the maturation of this defense.
This team has no weaknesses either. You can't find a spot that you can pick on.
The great Shannon Sharpe. Musgrave again takes a knee to keep the clock going.
Now Gary Zimmerman can have his shoulder surgery next week, and you know they won't mind that he missed the game.
Well, it was a Thanksgiving weekend to remember for the Denver Broncos and their fans. Pat Bowlen, the owner, getting in on the action down on the sideline. John Elway has accomplished so much in his career. Only one goal remains: to win a Super Bowl.
And he'd be the first of that class of '83 to do so.
Seconds will tick away. Shanahan will greet Dennis Erickson at midfield, and the Denver Broncos will reign as champions of the AFC West and will be at home as long as they're alive in the AFC playoffs.
Shit, get off me, Dick.
Tom, I did notice a nice touch. Musgrave took the game ball, walked over and handed it to John Elway.
Well, following our game, we'll be switching you to Oakland for the conclusion of that one. We'll be back to Denver in a moment. John Elway leads the Denver Broncos to a 34-7 victory, and home field throughout the AFC playoffs. They're the champions of the AFC West. So for Bob Trumpy, Tom Hammond saying so long from Denver. Now we'll send you to Oakland for the conclusion of the game between the Dolphins and Raiders. Let's join Dick Enberg, Paul McGuire, and Phil Simms.